When you first hear the number 666, what is your immediate reaction? For many, it is fear. For some, it is superstition. For others, it is confusion. But very few pause long enough to contemplate the truth behind the symbol. The number itself is not evil. It is not a curse. It is a language, a spiritual code, a mirror. And like all mirrors, it will reflect not what you wish to see, but what is already inside you. God did not speak in random numbers. The divine never utters a meaningless word. Every sound carries resonance. Every vibration points to a lesson. The number 6 in ancient symbolism is often associated with man, his imperfections, his limitations, his struggle between the earthly and the divine. But the repetition of the 6 3 times speaks not just of man, it speaks of the cycle. Man often becomes trapped in body, mind and soul, each one disconnected, each one searching for truth, but each one often blinded by illusion. When God said 666, he was not marking your fate, he was reminding you of your reflection. He was pointing to the moments when you forgot who you are, the moments when you bowed down to fear, the moments when you chased temporary pleasure and neglected eternal peace. He was not condemning you, he was inviting you to return, to wake up, to look in the mirror of your soul and ask, is this truly who I was created to be? But many do not want to look, because the mirror does not lie, the mirror does not flatter. It shows your weaknesses, your habits, your attachments. It reveals how often you chose distraction over discipline, how often you chose reaction over stillness, how often you settled for noise instead of seeking silence. The beast that people fear is not some external creature. It is the inner chaos that arises when you abandon your spiritual center. You see, the beast grows in absence. The absence of purpose, the absence of presence, the absence of inner alignment. When the body moves without the guidance of spirit, when the mind speaks louder than the heart, when your life becomes a performance for the world but a betrayal of your soul, that is when the number 666 becomes dangerous. Not because of what it is, but because of what you are not willing to face. So this number, this so-called symbol of warning, is not here to destroy you. It is here to awaken you. It is not an end. It is a beginning, because God does not warn unless there is still time to return. He does not speak unless your heart still has the capacity to listen. In July, this number has reappeared for a reason, not because the world is ending, but because a new world is beginning, and that beginning starts with you. Can you look into the mirror and see beyond the surface? Can you look at the habits, the patterns, the hidden fears you have ignored for so long? The way you compare yourself to others, the way you avoid silence, the way you numb your emotions, the way you doubt yourself. These are not random behaviors. They are the chains that keep you bound in the cycle of 6. And 3 6s? That is a life where body, mind and spirit are not walking together but fighting one another. Where the body desires what the mind regrets. Where the mind obsesses over what the soul already let go. Where the soul whispers truth, but the body and mind are too loud to hear it. But what happens when you pause, when you sit in stillness long enough to truly listen, not to the voice of the world, but to the voice within? That is when the cycle breaks. That is when the reflection changes. That is when 666 becomes not a curse, but a turning point, a holy sign, a divine checkpoint that says, you were lost, but now you see. In the path of spiritual awakening, every symbol is a doorway. The ones that scare you the most often lead to the deepest transformation. The number 666 is not meant to trap you. It is meant to wake you, to shake you, to stir something deep inside that remembers. You are not just flesh, you are not just thought, you are divine awareness, choosing to walk through a human experience. The awakening is not in some distant future. It is now. It is in July. It is in this breath. It is in the courage to stop pretending and to start aligning. It is in the willingness to ask hard questions. to forgive yourself for sleeping, and to commit to walking in light from this moment forward. So the next time you see 666, do not tremble, do not run, do not drown in the shallow interpretations of the world. Instead, breathe, smile gently, and ask yourself, where am I misaligned? Where have I forgotten my path? Where have I allowed the world to shape my identity instead of letting God shape it? I don't care. If my purpose is aligned with your destiny, I'm sure it's also big. This number is not your enemy, it is your invitation. An invitation to return to the truth of your being, to realign the Trinity within you, body, mind, and soul, so that they no longer fight, but walk in harmony. That is when the number loses its grip. That is when you rise. You rise. Many will experience this July as a time of external shaking. They will see breakdowns in systems. They will feel emotional waves. They will witness events that test their belief in what is stable. But the true shock will not come from what happens in the world. It will come from what happens within you, when you finally realize that all of this has been leading you home. Home is not a place, it is a state of being, a vibration of peace, a return to stillness, and every sign, every signal, even the ones that look dark, are guiding you there, if you are willing to look deeper. God does not waste symbols. He does not repeat messages unless the message is essential. So if 666 is appearing again, and if July is the moment He chose to highlight it, then understand, you are in a sacred season, one where the universe is holding up a mirror and saying, do you recognize who you have become? And do you remember who you truly are? Many will ignore the call, some will mock it, others will be paralyzed by fear, but a few, just a few, will be still. They will see past the surface. They will recognize the mirror, and they will bow, not in fear, but in humility. They will say, thank you for reminding me. Thank you for waking me. I am ready now. And that moment, that surrender, that clarity, that is when the shift begins. That is when the transformation starts. That is when July becomes not just another month, but a holy rebirth. Because when one person chooses alignment, the entire frequency of the planet rises. When one person says, I am done feeding the beast within me, light enters, peace enters. So don't look to the skies for signs, look within. The true prophecy is always internal. The real end times are not about global destruction, they are about the end of your sleep, the end of your separation, the end of your illusion. Let July be the month you meet yourself again, not the self that the world shaped, but the self that God designed. The self that remembers, the self that walks in quiet strength, the self that no longer needs to wear masks, the self that looks into the mirror of 666 and says, I see what I was, I see what I've become, and I choose now to rise. Because that is what the number really means. Not doom, not death, but decision. To stay where you are, or to wake up. You have been called. The signs are clear. The mirror is before you. Will you look? Will you listen? Will you rise? What is time? If you look deeply, you begin to realize time is not just a linear movement of seconds and hours. It is a sacred flow of energy, a rhythm of divine instruction, a silent teacher that reveals what cannot be seen with the eyes, but only understood with presence. And so we must ask again, what is July? Most will tell you it is the 7th month of the calendar, a warm season, a midpoint of the year. But those who walk the inner path know that it is more than that. July is not just a page on the calendar, it is a portal, a spiritual opening, a gateway between who you have been and who you are meant to become. God never reveals things randomly. The message that July will shock the world is not a threat. It is a revelation, a sacred moment arriving, a convergence of energy, karma, awakening, and truth. But to see it, you must not look outward, you must look inward. To understand a portal, you must learn to recognize when time is no longer ordinary, when time itself bends to hold a divine message. God said, "What's coming in July will shock the world." But most will be shocked not because something terrible happens. The shock will come because truth will surface, and many are not prepared to see it. It is not disaster that causes trembling. It is clarity. Because clarity requires change. And the ego resists change with all its might. There are seasons in life where the veil becomes thin, where the distance between heaven and earth shrinks, where the mind grows quiet enough to hear what the soul has always known. July is such a season, a passage, an invitation. And those who have been walking blindly through the year may now feel something strange. A pressure, a pull, a silence too deep to ignore. That is not coincidence, that is alignment. The world has been walking in sleep. For too long, humanity has been distracted. It has worshipped noise. It has chased more instead of meaning. It has built towers of information but lost the wisdom of stillness. But now, the soul of the planet is calling. July is not the destruction of the world, it is the destruction of the illusion. And when illusion crumbles, the world shakes. This is what God meant. He meant that July is not just another cycle of days, it is a reset, a spiritual earthquake. One that will not be reported on television, but one that will be felt in the chest, in the gut, in the mind, in the mirror. You may wake up one morning in July and feel disoriented. Emotions you buried may rise. Old habits may feel unbearable. People may disappear from your life. Paths may suddenly close. But don't panic. Don't try to escape. This is the work of grace. This is the divine hand rearranging your life, not to punish, but to purify. You are not being shaken to be destroyed. You are being shaken to be recentered. God is saying you've wandered long enough. You've pretended long enough. You've numbed yourself long enough. Now return. Now come back to the real path. Now remember. But most will not hear this, because most will look only with the eyes. They will search the headlines. They will watch the sky. They will fear the economy. They will analyze events, but they will miss the real shift. The one occurring within. The real shift is always inner, always silent, always sacred. In July, the world may witness strange signs, shifts in weather, political tensions, emotional instability, economic rattling. But these are only surface waves. The true storm is within. Because when truth rises, everything false trembles. When purpose reawakens, every lie gets exposed. This is why July will be shocking, not because it brings horror, but because it exposes what people have avoided. And nothing is more terrifying to the sleeping self than the moment of awakening. Because awakening means responsibility. It means no longer blaming the world. It means standing alone, still, silent, and asking, who am I really? Why am I here? In this month, the inner compass of many will begin to spin. Some will feel lost, others will feel called. Some will panic, others will pray. Some will cling tighter to the old, others will release and rise. Which will you be? Because this is not just a message for the world, it is a message for you. You are not hearing this by accident. You are hearing this because your soul is ready. Ready to remember, ready to realign, ready to walk with truth, even if it means walking alone for a time. A portal opens only for those who are willing to walk through it. And walking through it means letting go of what no longer serves, letting go of your identity that was shaped by pain, letting go of opinions that brought you comfort but not growth, letting go of comfort itself. Because comfort is often the drug that keeps you from becoming who you were destined to be. Do not be afraid of the changes that arrive in July. They are not chaos, they are cleansing. You may lose things, people, positions, plans, but what is real will remain. What is aligned will return. What is divine cannot be destroyed. Let go of timelines. Let go of explanations. Let go of trying to control the process. Spiritual evolution is not a business strategy. It cannot be micromanaged. It is not efficient. It is wild. It is quiet. It is sacred. And it flows at the speed of surrender, not the speed of ambition. This is why many miss it. They are too fast, too noisy, too rigid. But the doorway is subtle. The portal is quiet. The revelation comes only when you stop trying to force it and begin to feel it. When you stop reaching with the mind and begin receiving with the heart. In July, the spiritual air will change. The atmosphere will feel different. And if you are truly present, you will notice it. Not in big events, but in small silences. In strange moments of clarity. In the way you no longer tolerate certain things. In the deep breath that feels more sacred than usual. In the sudden knowing that you are meant to change now, not later. You are not just being given a message. You are being given a moment. A holy window. A chance to step into the next version of yourself. But it will not be handed to you. You must choose it. You must feel it. You must walk through the invisible gate, leaving behind what cannot follow. This is what July offers. Not more information, but deeper transformation. You will begin to see who is awake and who is asleep. Not by their words, but by their energy, their eyes, their presence. Some will glow with peace. Others will shake with fear. Some will resist. Others will rise. Some will shrink. Others will shine. You are being asked to be one who shines. One who walks with quiet confidence, not because you know what's coming, but because you know who walks with you. And when you feel lost, because you will. Remember, the portal always feels confusing before it feels clear. That is the nature of awakening. You must first let go of the map to find the path. You must first lose what is false to discover what is true. So take your time, breathe deeply, sit with the discomfort. Let July do its work. Don't rush to understand, just be willing to experience. Let life peel away what is no longer aligned. Let the divine hand guide you, even when your mind protests. Trust the deeper rhythm, the one that speaks not in noise, but in stillness. And when the world is shocked, when events unfold that challenge logic, remember that shock is the sign of spiritual labor. The old world is giving birth to a new one, and you are part of that birth, not as an observer, but as a carrier of light. So how do you prepare? Not by panic, not by prediction, but by presence. Clean your energy, organize your space, clarify your intentions, pray, meditate, serve, forgive, release, listen, be still. These are the actions of a soul that is ready to walk through the portal. The question is not what July will bring. The question is, what will you bring into July? Will you bring your old self, filled with fears, doubts, resistance? Or will you bring your higher self, anchored, awake, aligned? The moment is now, the opening is real, the invitation is sacred. God said what is coming in July will shock the world, but for those who have trained their inner ear, the message is different. For you, God is saying, be still, be awake, be ready, The portal is not in the sky. The portal is not in the news. The portal is in you. Walk through it. In the ancient teachings, it is said, when the soul is silent, God speaks. But most have forgotten the silence. Most have become so entangled in the noise of life that even when God whispers, the message is drowned by the mind's loud demands. And so we walk through life missing the sacred, not because it is hidden, but because we are too distracted to see it. But God is patient. He continues to speak, and when the whispers are ignored, He speaks louder, not in anger, but in mercy. The storms in our lives, the disruptions, the unexpected shifts, these are not punishments. They are calls, alarms from the divine, sacred interruptions designed to awaken us before we drift too far into forgetfulness. The third keynote is not just a realization. It is a recognition. You are not separate from the message. God does not send warnings to scare us. He sends them to wake us. The shaking you feel within, the urge to change, the inner restlessness, the quiet discomfort, is the beginning of a holy alignment. And in July, this process intensifies, not to harm you, but to bring you back to your path. The shock that is coming is not just global, it is personal. It is not something you will watch happen to others. It is something you will feel deeply in your own spirit, a revelation, a breaking, a surrender, a remembering. You will see things as they are. You will no longer be able to pretend. The masks will fall. The stories you told yourself to stay safe will lose their power. The habits that numbed you will no longer work. The people who kept you distracted will begin to fade. And this will not be easy, but it will be sacred. Because when illusion breaks, truth enters. And when truth enters, healing begins. God has not forgotten you. He never has. But sometimes He must allow the structures of your comfort to collapse, so that the temple of your purpose can rise. And that is what July will bring. The inner temple, the sacred rebuilding. You may find yourself losing interest in things that once fascinated you. Television, conversations, even relationships may feel empty. This is not depression. This is realignment. Your soul is tired of pretending. Your spirit is preparing for clarity. The outer world is no longer your home. Your true home is being rebuilt within. This is why silence becomes powerful now. In a world that moves fast, July will ask you to slow down. In a world that chases more, July will teach you the wisdom of less. In a world that worships loudness, July will become a season of quiet reawakening. And in the stillness, you will begin to see the signs have always been there. The number 666 is not a curse. It is a mirror, a code, a divine cipher reminding you of the disconnect between your body, mind, and soul. And July is not the month of your collapse. It is the month of your convergence, where you begin to gather all parts of yourself and return them to the center. God has not sent this time to test your strength. He sent it to reveal it.